Okay, welcome to Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. Uh, Doc, you want to introduce yourself?
Doc Sheldon here, Intrinsic Value SEO.
And I'm Bill Slosky at SEO by the Sea and Director of SEO Research at Go Fish Digital. So I switched my blog over to HTTPS last week.
I thought I didn't realize you hadn't already.
I hadn't, and it was much easier to do than I had anticipated. I've done some of the follow-up type things like creating new Google Search Console uh, set up for it, submitting the XML sitemap in that. It's says it's indexed about 1,300 pages of the XML sitemap so far. So it's got another 600 to go. It's taking its time doing them.
No good.
I guess I want everything overnight. Huh?
Instant gratification.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, it worked for me well as a child.
Uh-huh. Hey, Terry.
Hey, Terry.
Hey,
How's things in the Great White North, sir?
I discovered Xbox.
You-
I get to play some World of Warcraft over the weekend.
Yeah, I don't play any shooter games.
That's right. You play sports type games, huh?
Yeah, hockey, baseball, golf, and basketball. Golf is my favorite, though. I miss the game, the strategy, and whatnot. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it has courses that I would have never been able to afford to play. So
yeah,
there's that too.
yeah, St. Andrews.
All of them. There's a lot of TPC courses in it. There aren't a lot of choices in games either. There's only one golf game for Xbox. It's a bit like owning a fucking Mac. You get your choice of one for every piece of software you need.
We have all the software, one of each.
Yes, one of each. You have your choice of one of each.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The PC world there's so much variety and so much contrasting quality that you have some really poor choices too.
Yeah. Well, I imagine here in about a month, I won't have time to play. I'll be busy watching real games soon, hopefully.
Which sports?
Any. I don't care. I was watching old hockey games for a little while. And when I say old, I mean black and white, some of them.
So baseball, I think, is going to start in July.
I believe so. Hockey may even start beforehand. Because most of the cities in Canada will probably allow them because they're almost into the third stage of their opening up the economy, they say.
And how long is a average hockey stick? It's not quite 6 feet, but
Not 6
that
feet.
can
No.
enforce social
No.
distancing, huh?
Yeah. I think they're going to wear face shields, though, or masks. Like in hockey, there is a bubble type of face guard,
Yeah.
and I think they use them in junior because they went from cages to bubbles. I think I haven't watched a junior game in a long time, so I'm not sure.
I would think that those cage masks. When you think about a puck, to get that mask close enough knit to keep a puck from going through it, that's got to be really distracting to your vision. Whereas a bubble, you don't have that
The
problem.
goalies masks, right? A stick will go through, but a puck won't. If
Yeah.
a stick is just placed right, it can go through. In fact, I saw it happen to a Toronto goalie this year.
Ouch.
He had a nick under his eye for a few days.
You're lucky that's all he had.
Really. And that's because they make the opening it's a perfect fit, if you know what I mean, for a guy to do it. But if you make the hole any smaller, the goalie can't see as well, right?
Yeah.
Gets the wires in his way then. They want, pure vision.
They're not going to be allowing spectator crowds yet, are they?
No crowds in any games. I don't think until next year, personally.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And I
know.
think that's probably wise.
Well, nobody will go anyhow. That's the thing. Nobody with half a mind is going to go anyhow.
Well, down here there'd be plenty of them, and they'd probably all be carrying AR-15s.
I forgot the great unwashed masses in the United States.
Yeah, they'll take their AR-15s and go.
Social distancing, what's that? That's for cowards. Come
There
on.
you go.
I see the death toll, and if that happened in Canada, heads would be fucking rolling. If there was a body count like there is in the States. I mean, even percentage-wise, it's like that much bigger. New York has had probably more deaths in one day than we've had altogether. New York alone.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And yet people are really here on the government because they're still saying, well, you shouldn't be doing it, but we can't stop you.
Somebody posted something on Facebook this morning that I saw that kind of made a point. They showed two lines on a graph. One was the U.S. overall, that idea of flattening the curve.
Yeah.
And then was the U.S. overall after taking out New York. So it's going, it's like this overall, and it's like this when you take New York out. It's still climbing dramatically. And it kind of strikes me as odd. We look at Europe as a lot of different countries in different regions. Yet we take a country the size of the United States, you got the difference between New York City and Nebraska and Miami and Portland, Oregon, and we try to look at it as though it's all one society and judge these things when the density is different, the climate is different, the culture is different, all these things that it just doesn't make sense. You can't expect to see the same in Bismarck, North Dakota as you see in Brooklyn, yet they're trying to look at the numbers and analyze based upon it as an entire whole, and it isn't. It's a whole bunch of fragments.
Yeah, but look at Toronto and New York. There shouldn't be much of a difference there because of population, but there's a huge difference.
Well, if you look at Toronto, the the city proper versus Toronto greater metropolitan area, there's a tremendous amount of difference too, because the density in the outlying areas is a fraction, you know.
Oh yeah. Well,
So your contagiousness is going to be dramatically different. Transmission rate, you know, your RO is going to be
but
radically
there's
different.
parts of Toronto and Vancouver that have the highest rate in an area, like the highest total or
Yeah.
percent. Some very populated areas here, but they're very small. Whereas that's all in
Yeah.
New York. Right here, we have a few small pockets that are like New York, but most of it is.
Yeah.
Most of
Bill and I were,
most outliers here in Toronto are like Connecticut to New York.
like Bill and I were talking before we went live, that you know, we know so little about viruses in general, and in particular this virus. To me, it just makes sense that we, you know, take a very cautious approach to everything, and we're seeing in the area, like Canada has been a lot more aggressive and accepting. The populace has been more accepting of the limitations, you know, the self isolation, and it's showing it pays off.
Yeah, but if you look, a little province like New Brunswick closed down their borders, like to any traffic coming into New Brunswick without that wasn't essential services were turned back at the provincial border.
Yeah.
That's how strict their lockdown was. And they had hardly any cases. I think they had 400 in total. But I guess that's how they kept it like that. You know, you got these nut bars protesting the lockdowns, but could you imagine what would have happened if they tried to do what they did in Sweden and New York?
Oh God. Well, even
the numbers would be blow your mind.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. I'm out of patience with these idiots that are out there protesting, and you know, you're infringing upon my God-given rights because you won't let me take a disease home and kill my parents or my grandparents. What kind of an asinine, childish, self-centered attitude does it take? No,
but
I
how
guess
many of them are Tea Party? If you watch, they all look like Tea Partiers to me. They all look like Trump's following, if you know what I mean.
They're purposefully
yeah. Oh, I know what you mean,
inciting,
and I'm not disagreeing.
yeah, they're purposefully inciting riot by protesting
Insanity.
to make political statements. Yeah,
Yeah.
But they're good people. You know?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I think Trump still has a good chance of winning the game because of people like them. Because you know what he's saying now? He wants to bring jobs back to America. And guess what? Most of those people lost their job to someone in China. And that's why they voted for Trump the first time. This is all just proving that he was spot on. And this case, as far as China goes, it's about the only thing I agree with the guy on.
Well, you know, I don't disagree with him that we have exported an awful lot of our jobs, you know, and it was stupid, and it should be at least largely undone. Okay, I don't disagree with that. But the thing is, too, about all those people that supported him because of that, a whole lot of those people have been hurt even more by things he has done since. So,
yeah, probably.
You know, but they're not seeing that. Okay, you know, and that may be by design on his part because.
Well, hey, what's number one in most people's minds? A job, providing for their families, and that was taken away from them. You look at people who make good money working in manufacturing, and now they're working in the civils, in the service industry for like 2/3 of the money.
Oh, if that.
Well, I was being generous.
Yeah.
So I can understand why they're upset. And you know what? There's stuff like chips, like computer chips and PPE that should never have been taken offshore. All of it, to the point where if something happens, we got nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything
It's
that could be mission critical. And that's ages old economic theory. If it's mission critical, you keep control of it. You don't farm it out.
You have a strategic oil supply enemy. For a reason.
Especially to a potential enemy, for Christ's sake,
And that's, for me, the biggest thing that upset me was when you can kind of say that China fudged what was going on so they could go buy up all the PPE.
Yeah, it looks like.
It does look like that. Yeah.
And I don't care they give $2 billion. That should be the start. And not just to the WHO. They should give every country on earth billions to what they had to put in to their, the United States. It cost them trillions. Doesn't make sense.
And the thing is, if the position had been different, the U.S. would have done the same thing.
I don't know that they would have said nothing and bought up all the PPE. I can't see that.
Well, they don't seem to have any trouble going out and seizing already paid for, owned shipments.
Yeah, but they did that to Canada. They did that to Canada, too.
Yeah, I mean, so they don't have a problem being a pirate. I doubt very seriously that they would be hesitant to stifle numbers.
But when it's the way it is, right? It's like there's a war, man. That's what these measures actually are. It's like we're at war. So, yeah, they can say, no, you can't send that away. We need it. I understand it. I was pissed when
it was beyond that, Terry. There were shipments being purchased and paid for, prepaid, out of China.
Yeah.
That got to Indonesia en route, and the U.S. government seized them and took them into federal inventory away from the corporation that had paid for them.
It wasn't just corporations, Canada. That they did that to Canada.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
5 million mass.
Fucking ridiculous. From a survivalist standpoint, I can understand it.
Yeah, like, hey,
you can't go shoot your neighbor over something and then complain about another neighbor that shot his neighbor over the same fucking thing.
But we're all in the same case. There isn't a freaking country out there that wouldn't do the same thing if they had the power, because there's that much of a shortage. Like, I believe that a lot of businesses aren't opening up because they can't even find the PPE to do it.
Quite possible.
You talk, all the businesses here that they're interviewing on TV are saying, "Oh, it's really hard to find that stuff. It's not easy to get it."
I see a lot of that in the news too. Down here,
like the governments have straight up, as far as PPE goes, have lied through their teeth to everyone. That's my feeling, anyhow. When they basically act like there's enough, and all you have to do is ask for it. I don't think that's the case at all.
Well, our government lies to us as a matter of course about basically everything. Everybody can have a test. This test is very good.
Governors have the ability to go out and buy their own PPE.
But
especially if they happen to be Democratic governed.
But why is that important? It's only important if herd immunity is possible, and they don't know for sure that is the case. So, being able to test people, not that big a deal. Here, we haven't tested near as many as they have in the States, and we're doing better than you. Why is that? What does that say about how testing is helping?
It does help, Terry, because for a medical reason. first of all, we know nothing about this virus. The only way we're going to learn anything about the virus is from seeing, from tests, what is the true R-ought? You know, how many people are really getting infected? How long is it really lasting? You know, is there an immunity to these things? Is the only thing you have to learn these things about this virus is test results and observation. And
They don't even know how long the antibodies last in the body. They're not even sure how long the antibodies last in the body. So even a vaccine might not.
We don't have a clue down here, Terry. We don't even have a clue how many people have been infected.
Nobody does. Same
because
with the
deaths.
Yeah, but even you know, I think it's just for me. If I had no symptoms and someone told me I had to take that test, I'd tell them to go fuck themselves.
Well,
no one's going to shove something up my fucking nose unless it's got something else coming after that's really nice.
There's an image I'll not get rid of anytime soon.
I was talking the old days when I was yeah.
The test results are important because it gives the medical professionals something to work with, and without any results or with totally unreliable results, it's almost worse than nothing.
Yeah, but that okay for that information, you don't have to test the whole nation.
You've got to test a significant portion of them.
To me, the only reason you're doing that is if there's herd immunity. Because otherwise, that's to me like.
I don't see that being at all related to herd immunity, to tell you the truth. Having information for a doctor to learn how to diagnose, learn how to treat, learn how to design.
They've had 3 million cases. I don't think testing some more people are going to matter. 3 million cases kind of fills out the puzzle, I think. It's research now. They got the shit they need to research. They just need to research it. But as far as, I hardly disagree. 3 million people. Like, how many more do you have to test to learn anything?
So you need to test people to determine whether or not they should be in some type of isolation, self-isolation, so they don't infect other people.
Right. Okay. So I say if someone has symptoms, test them. But just to test them, so you test them today, in a week they could have it.
So
contagious for up to 2 weeks before symptoms, too.
It's it's spread asymptomatically.
So you'd have to test people a lot more regularly. I don't really want to argue about this, but that's just my feeling, that testing is a waste of money.
Well, that's why contact tracing is important.
Contact tracing, yeah, very important. That makes a big difference.
So if somebody comes down with it, you can contact all the people they've been in contact with.
Yeah, I think there's a company here in Canada that can trace all that stuff. You put the app on your phone, and they know where if you got it, they know everywhere you've been since you got it.
Terry, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let's say I show up at the hospital and I get tested, or I show up, for a testing facility. I get tested. They determine I'm positive, so they want to trace my contacts. Okay, I'm asymptomatic. I may have gotten infected 13 days ago or 13 hours ago. They don't know.
Right.
So
right.
What is easier to do? Trace everybody I've been in contact with for the last 2 weeks, or trace everybody I've been in contact with since my last test 2 days ago when I was negative? Okay, 2 days worth of
you
contact.
You aren't going to get people to take tests that often. Nobody's going to sit there and have that shit shoved up their nose every second day. They're not going to do it. Children especially.
I'm not saying that we should test everybody every 2. I'm simply saying that by demonstrating the point that the tests are valuable, they make the data usable and
what
scalable.
Percentage of tests are false positives?
Right now,
What
about
percentage
30%.
are false negatives?
The
About
test,
30% are false negative. False
the
positive.
test in the White House, the fast test, 15-minute test, was shown to be 48% false negative.
Yeah.
There you
And
go.
the test that they've been using.
How accurate is the testing?
Well, they had to stop using that
That's the
test.
other thing. If the tests are wrong half the time,
They have to stop using that test.
yeah.
There are many
Or
tests.
stop testing because it's not really helping.
So
There are-
they were only
Either
using
way,
that test.
I
because-
understand what you're trying to say, but to me, right, if you don't have symptoms, there's, I don't see the point in it.
Well,
problem is,
if
Terry-
if you have a limited number of tests, yeah, you don't test people without symptoms.
Well, I think there are still
once-
a limited number
once-
of tests.
once
I
you-
don't care what they
once you
tell
have
us.
more tests, you can start testing more people.
Yeah. And if the tests were good, right, and they didn't need any more tests, i.e., there's not a shortage, why are there so many companies trying to develop a test? There's
They're
still
trying to find a test that's more
works.
reliable.
that's
there are
more
three-
reliable and
There are
easier to
three
produce.
common tests in use right now. One of which was being used in the White House is the worst. Like Bill said, 48% false negatives, about 3% false positives. Okay, that's a shit test. Should be tracked.
Okay.
There's another one, the most prevalent in use across the country down here right now, has about a 30% false negative and about a 1.2% false positive. Okay,
Right.
it's better.
The
They
false
continue to
negatives
try to
though are
develop.
bad.
Well, sure it
'Cause
is.
that's
But the
telling
thing is,
people they're okay and they may not do the social distancing. That could
Rutgers-
be worse.
yeah. Rutgers University came up with a test that's saliva based, so they're not sticking anything up your nose.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. I wouldn't mind that so much, but I just watched them applying that test, and I thought to myself, I'd have to be pretty fucking sick to expose myself to something like that. I don't like anything being jabbed up my fucking holes.
gonna have to put something recreational on the end of that swab.
Yeah, only recreational.
The thing is, if you wait to test until there are symptoms, there's a good chance that they've already had 2 weeks worth of contact with other people.
But here's my point, Doc. If everybody puts an app on their thing, it won't matter when. You'll still know where they've been and who may have been in contact. Right?
But you still, so you show up positive, and they look in your app and they determine, okay, here's 177 people he has been in contact with over the last 14 days, which is the incubation period before
Right.
your symptoms appear today. Now they got to go check 177 people versus waiting and just testing routinely
Right.
asymptomatic people.
And how many people do you think remember everywhere they've been and everyone they have been in contact
I'm not talking
with?
about use or don't use the app. I'm talking about not waiting until you're fucking showing symptoms.
No, but I'm saying, okay, I don't want to argue about this. You're not going to change my mind anyhow.
Oh.
I just don't see the point in it. We aren't doing that much testing here, and it doesn't seem to be hurting. If you
I won't
actually
argue you guys
in
are-
Canada, if you took the deaths in long-term care, it would be, that's like 80% of our deaths.
Yeah.
And what does that do? That means the government's going to step in after and clean all that mess up. I'm betting that it's a public service within 5 years, that all the private guys are going to be put out of business. Not by the government. They'll want to get out of the business because they won't be able to do it and make a profit.
Well, from what I read, I don't know if it's valid, but I read that at least in the I don't even remember which province it was that they were talking about, that basically you could go open up an old folks home tomorrow.
Yeah.
You don't have to have any certification, any license, anything. Any idiot that's got a roof can say, "Bring me your old," And
Yeah, but you got to have certain kinds of people there. There is a ministry that looks after it, and there are regulations, but anybody can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, there got to be some enforcement, some inspections or something.
Well, most of the bad ones were private, and they were trying to make money, so they cut corners. Quebec, I guess it's just ludicrous, like what's going on there. There, they actually had fucking frogs. The whole staff just walk out of long-term care place and say, I might get sick. I'm not doing this. No PPE. I'm not doing this. Yeah, that's a frog for you. You can tell they're not high on my list.
I've already made one French enemy this week. I'm not going to go after any more.
I've made lots over the years. But not without. I actually tried to live there, and that's what soured me on them.
I did business with a couple over the years. Didn't take long to break me of that habit.
Yeah. They try and get a dime out of a nickel. Dime's worth of work for a nickel.
You got
at any rate.
You dealt with a much more generous one than I did. Anyhow, what's going on in the world of SEO? Not much.
I turned down a job today.
Really?
Yeah, just said I'm retired. I don't want to do that stuff no more. Well, first of all, it costs me money. If I go to work, I lose one of my benefits, so I'd rather have the benefits than have to work.
So what
make less money.
So what would convince you to work?
$20,000. Then it's worth my while, but until then, not really. Or something I wanted to do, just to do it. But to do something that I've kind of lost the passion for, yeah, couldn't pay me enough, especially to deal with clients.
So
works fine. Clients are the problem.
So an in-house type position where you work for the people.
I tried working in an agency.
No, I mean an in-house, like you work for a company.
That's pretty well what I did all my career. I worked in an agency a few times. Once with Dave, that wasn't too bad. Then I worked with two others. One, if I saw the guy on the street and I had a gun, I'd probably fucking shoot him.
I've worked for a couple agencies. Most of them were good experiences. Some of them were questionable.
Yeah.
I wouldn't work for any agency that would have me.
Yeah. I think I just expect too much, my standards are pretty high. That's what I didn't like, was some of the stuff I saw in one case. In the other case, some people are just pricks.
I don't think I could go back to work for either a company or an agency simply because I've been working for myself for so damn long. I've probably managed to amass some habits and personality quirks that people would find very abrasive. But I wouldn't want to give up my independence. You know, I may not do everything the best and most efficient way every time, but it's my decision. And if it ends up being inefficient, I learn that and I change the way I do things. But to be forced to do something in a way that I know is inefficient because that's the way my boss likes to see it done, I don't feel the need. If I was hungry enough, my family was starving, I'd go take a job as a piano player at a whorehouse if I had to, but I would not seek it out as my chosen way to finish my life. I've gotten spoiled. I enjoy my independence.
Yeah. Well, plus sometimes they want you to do things their way, and
Yeah,
I just said, why should I do that? It doesn't work. Why would I do it? It doesn't work. I can do something that's better. And why don't you do this?
because it's stupid.
Well, no, they didn't think it was a profit center, but I knew it was. Right? I knew that you could actually charge for these services, and they thought you gave them away. As you know, I don't give anything away.
One of those business models, you make it up in volume, eh? Saw something funny this morning. Changing the topic. What is it? DoorDash. Apparently, DoorDash is one of their methods of lining up new sources of food. Is they just go offer themselves as delivery for this restaurant. Okay, we deliver this guy's pizza. So this guy had a pizzeria, and he sold a large deluxe pizza for $24. And DoorDash decided they would start offering his pizza, and somehow somebody screwed up, mistyped, whatever. They offered this pizza for $16. He started getting complaints on his website and on Yelp and whatnot. People saying, it was probably a typo. Okay, so they would go buy this $26 pizza, take it and deliver it, and try to collect their $26 for it. And people would leave a nasty gram on Yelp because what the hell, it's advertised for $26, and these guys try to charge me $28 for it because DoorDash adds their $2 on top. And so he said, I see a business model here, an opportunity. He started ordering a shitload of his own $24 pizzas for $16, having DoorDash deliver them to him, and keeping the $8.
$8.
And keeping $8 per pizza, and apparently did it for quite some time. Some blogger got wind of it and even reached out to DoorDash. Hey, idiots, do you realize what you're doing here? And they continued to let it go. Whoever was responsible for that function within DoorDash had nothing to do with the profit margin, so they didn't care. So this guy apparently made $8 a pop for his pizzas for quite some time. That is funny as hell. I can't really fault the guy. That's an opportunity that would be pretty hard to turn down,
Especially the way those companies gouge you later.
That too.
They're taking 10% roughly, right?
I don't know. With DoorDash, I have no idea.
I always look at those and think, who the hell thought of this business model? When you consider the margin in a restaurant and you're going to take 10% off the top.
Makes the money.
The numbers don't add up, bud. Sorry. Like nobody can make money at that rate when you're paying those guys.
Nope.
Those are business models that are not sustainable, in my opinion. A few of them have already gone out of business.
Now, if it was a straight delivery charge, if I call up DoorDash and they charge me $2 for stopping by, picking it up, and bringing it to me, that's fine. If I'm willing to pay that $2 or $4 or whatever it ends up being for the convenience or the rush, that's a fair business model. But like you say, restaurants don't carry they can't give up 10% without losing money.
Every pizza joint I've ordered a pizza for delivery has charged me $2 for delivery for
Yep.
as long as I can remember.
And if you're willing to pay that for the convenience, that's fine. I got no
I
problem with it.
expect it. If
Yeah.
I don't have to go and stand it and wait a half hour for him to make a pizza or longer, my
Especially
time's worth money too. And I didn't have to leave the house.
Well, I mean, until a few weeks ago, you'd probably spend that much in gas these days. You know,
Getting there.
that's a gallon of gas in on good days.
Yeah, I've seen all those business models and think to myself, wow, 10%. Most restaurants are lucky if they make 20% margin or 20% profit. And they're only making that because they have good bar sales.
Yeah, I was
So-
going to say,
so-
my restaurant owning friends tell me that they're targeting 8 to 10%.
So DoorDash charges the restaurant too? DoorDash charges restaurants in addition
I
to
don't know.
charging, they charge the people they're delivering to. They also charge restaurants?
I honestly don't know.
The ones I've seen here,
Where are you getting this 10%? Who's charging who 10%?
well, the ones I've seen here were a percentage that you paid to the company. And that's why the restaurants don't like those services. Maybe it's different. I don't know. But when I looked at them, that was basically, you look at the website and they're advertising, and the restaurant pays the delivery charge.
What I read on that particular write-up gave me to believe that DoorDash buys the product. You know, they look at the price that you're offering the product for, and then they add on to that to the end user. That's what I got from it, but I have no idea how that.
Okay,
You know,
so they're not charging the restaurateur.
I don't know, Bill.
They're buying the restaurant food from
So they're
restaurant
providing that service to the restaurant for free? Nah.
Oh, no way.
No way. I don't
They're
think
charging
so, Bill.
somebody.
Well, it sounded like
Your
you
bill
guys-
may say that you got charged $2 by them, but I'm betting you go look and the restaurant's paying them something too. I'm going to go. In
so
fact,
are sure that.
I'm not
you-
sure, but I'm going to find out because I see a business model that could be made better.
Okay, so I see value in providing a delivery service to the restaurateur. I do see value in that. If a restaurant isn't
Here's my
if a
thought.
restaurant isn't providing delivery service, they can sell a lot
Presto.
more food.
That's the answer, Bill, and that's how they can charge restaurants because they don't want to look after that. But I'm telling you, after this, restaurants are going to look at it and say, hey, I can pay a guy to deliver this stuff and make more money. I was actually missing a market that I could have had. I know when I've worked at a few restaurants where they had a setup where the factory could phone, we'd make the food and send it out to the factory, right? And it was a big enough order, we didn't even charge for the delivery. You know, it'd be hundreds of dollars sometimes.
There's a local restaurant called the Taco Stand. You can order food from them on DoorDash, but they won't sell tacos through it. And they're really good tacos. And
Probably because they're
I
so
asked-
cheap, they can't make any money on it.
I asked somebody there, they said we would be too busy. We couldn't afford to do that. We'd be making tacos all the time.
Yeah,
Well, you're
see,
a taco stand.
was it a
for
taco
delivery.
stand outside?
It's an actual restaurant. It's a building. It's called the Taco Stand.
Oh, okay. But they had a lot of takeout business and were probably set up for it, right?
They were delivering everything but tacos through DoorDash.
Yeah, probably because they couldn't make enough money off of tacos to make it work. I'm going to look that up for you, though. I know here in Canada, there's a company called Fedora.
Yeah.
They left Canada because the employees decided to unionize. So they just said, oh, that's it. We're out of here.
I mean, most restaurants, the margins can be too thin for them to be paying a delivery company.
Yeah,
So-
that's why I'm surprised that a restaurant can pay these guys.
So the delivery company's got to be making their money off the people ordering the food. Because if
Here's
they're
the
charging,
thing, though.
if they're charging the restaurants
Right.
can afford to pay that.
Right, but I've talked to restaurateurs who say they hate those services because they can't make any money using them. Or they refuse to use those services. Because I asked a few, and they said, no, we don't use those because it costs us too much money. But like I said, I'm curious enough, I'm going to go look it up.
So a lot of restaurateurs have no idea what they're doing when they price things.
That too.
And they end up going out of business because of it.
The margins are razor. And remember, it's not like they are fully in control. Like if produce goes up 30% because, there's a thing, do you think the guy can put up the price of his salad? Usually not.
That's a valid point that you make, Bill, that a lot of restaurants don't know how to set their prices. Because I know, for instance, down here, I know a guy who opened a bar.
Yeah.
And he said he had to price his drinks per the competition on the street, okay?
Right.
If they're selling it down right next door for $3.50 for a big drink, you're going to have to charge right in that realm. So that's how he set his pricing. But then to attract more customers, he started adding things like live music and free totopos, snacks and whatnot like that. And without thinking what he was doing to his overhead.
And he gave away all the profit.
He put the horse in front of the cart there. Said, figure out, what your costs are, and then figure out what's a reasonable margin and price it to that. And then market based upon the extras that you're putting in there. But don't make them a gift and expect to make money. And the last I heard, he had not done that yet. He was still letting his competition set his prices and letting his tastes set his services, and he's going broke.
Yeah, that's a hard business to make. When I worked in restaurants, a couple of times, I mainly worked large quantity cooking, right?
When you deal
preferred it.
In a straight bar, Terry, aside from possibly selling crack on the corner, I can't think of a business model that has a higher profitability than a straight bar. Never mind food, because that's a whole
alcohol's thing. Where the money is. You don't make money on food.
Because no matter how good things are or how bad things are, everybody wants to drink. Okay.
I was wrong. Not just alcohol, beverage. Beverage is where the money's made. Coffee, tea, Coke, and alcohol. Sure. Alcohol's just even more, but the others, you pay a few bucks for a big thing of Coke and you serve 1,000 people.
Yeah. Tremendous margins.
Yes.
People, there's some things that people are always going to want, no matter how good or bad they are. Food, medical care, and alcohol or recreational substances, put it that way. They're always, if the economy is booming, people want to party. If the economy is shit, people want to drown their sorrows. If things are just going along relatively calmly, people are just glad they haven't gotten worse and they want to go have a drink. So, to me, there's no better margin in the world than a bar. But as soon as you add a kitchen It's everything's out the window now. Now you better know what the hell you're doing, because any
Yeah.
idiot can pour a drink,
Yeah.
and you can free pour and give away 30% more booze on every pour and still make money hand over fist.
The way you supply the restaurant with food. If you're preparing stuff that costs more than you're selling it for, which is really
Yeah.
easy to do.
It's very easy to do.
If you sell chicken and you buy chicken by the breasts instead of whole chickens that you debone yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you're paying too much for your supplies, your stock.
Yep.
You know how many people can debone a chicken properly? Not many.
But if you have somebody
I
who
could show you
knows-
kitchens where they just hack things up into quarters, maybe, but actually, yeah.
Well, if you use
I-
enough
I-
breading, if you use
I
enough
remember-
breading, Terry, nobody will recognize what the cut is anyway.
I remember us getting 4 cases of whole chickens at a time and deboning them all. And if we had paid for the parts, breasts, and so on, we would have paid a fortune.
Yeah. But were you paying the labor to butcher them or not?
No, we the restaurant, the chefs, the cooks in the restaurant were deboning them.
Yeah, so you have to add their time to it too.
Yeah,
Probably still making out.
it was still the cost of a case of chickens was still a lot
Yeah, in the
cheaper
case, yeah. But if you buy enough, you get a deal.
than- yeah.
I used to buy from downtown here at the one of the main places and got that much better deals. Then you got to have the time to do that. That was the time. Most of the places I worked didn't have time to do that.
Working places where you can hire people who have the time to do it. Work near colleges, universities, where the students are willing to take on jobs like that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, tough business. I know I enjoyed doing it, but once I started looking at the numbers, I said, this is not a long time. This is not a career you want to do. It's fun, but
No way to get rich.
rich. Make even a livable earning. Like I was a chef and, didn't make probably 500 bucks a week.
I can think of one restaurant where the chef is getting rich. And it was in a little town just outside of the Beltway called Little Washington. And he's the guy who runs the Inn at Little Washington. It's a Michelin 3-star restaurant.
Mm.
And he was a farm to table guy. He learned how to butcher at local farms
Yeah.
and learned all about cooking from local people. Became the chef at this Inn at Little Washington. And
They
he's
teach you how to do that stuff, how to cut up beef and chicken and all that in
right.
cook school.
He's got people paying $500 for tableside kitchen seats.
Yeah. That's that Michelin stuff, though.
Yeah.
There's people who
like-
pay
not my
that
reason.
just for the prestige of saying, I paid this much to eat this.
Yeah. And they ran a story in the this last week. He's got 20 seats in the little restaurant at the Inn of Little Washington, and they're filling half of them with mannequins.
See, he's
Oh,
the type
yeah.
of guy, though, that can half fill the restaurant, say, oh, you got to pay double now because the restaurant's half the size and I still got to make the same money.
Right.
He thinks he's a baseball player.
We're doing social distancing. You have to pay more to eat here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what killed me. The baseball said they're going to cut the schedule in half. The fucking players wanted all the money still. I mean, come on. You know, you guys are so stupid. You'll end up making nothing, you know, as they did before when they got locked out. You know, these guys just think they, you know, I think they want the holiday the way they talk. Oh, we want our full pay. So you're going to get your full pay, but the stadium's empty. You're still going to get your full pay.
So most of those salaries are getting paid by TV, right?
Yeah, that's basically. Well, also they make a lot of money when people buy a baseball jersey, you know, for $150.
So the stadiums make some money, and the concession stands do too. But
those are out. They make nothing.
It's nothing compared to TV. Right?
Oh, they might get rent from the teams, but they make their money on the concessions and the parking. The buildings make their money on the parking mainly. Because that doesn't come with the ticket, of course. And you know how much it costs to park in downtown Toronto for a hockey game? Probably an extra $50 on top. You know, on top of the $200 gold seat.
I went to a conference in Toronto back in the mid-'80s, and I rented my car at the airport and went to my hotel, got directions for the conference center. When I drove over there, I parked my car. I parked at about 7:30 in the morning, and I came out like 8:40 that night.
Oh.
And it was $64 to get my fucking car out of Hawk.
Out of Hawk or just from the parking lot?
To get out of parking. Yeah, it cost me $64 to drive out. I told the guy, you know what? I paid $37 to rent this fucking Lincoln.
That's what I mean. It's in Toronto. It's cheaper to take a taxi downtown and all around town than to drive your own car. Nobody owns a car in downtown Toronto, or if they do, it's not driven very often, just when they're going out of town.
Yeah.
Doesn't pay.
That was unreal. But yeah, well, the reason that I was explained at the hotel when I was bitching about it, because I bitched about it to everybody I met for about 3 days, was that there's just very little parking available. So they can charge
even less now, because some of the parking lots they put buildings on them.
Because somebody will pay it.
The other day, not downtown, but kind of on the fringes, I would pay $20 to run into a building, stay there for maybe 15, 20 minutes, come back and get my car, and it cost me $20. That was what it cost you basically to just drive your car on the lot.
Yeah. Like you say, grab a cab.
Yeah, because it's hard to find parking downtown as well.
And the other side of that, people don't think about, okay, so if it's cheaper for me to take a taxi than it is to pay this parking, what's going to keep the taxi companies from jacking their rates up, because it's still cheaper than parking, you know? So it kind of trickles down.
Because even cheaper than that is a TTC, which is more convenient and sometimes faster. If you're on the subway, it's faster than getting there by cab, during rush hour especially.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And that's $3 for as far as you want to go, and as long as you, and either way too. It used to be you paid $3, and if you got off and got back on again, you had to pay another $3. Then they brought in a system with cards, and now you pay $3 for 2 hours on it either way.
Anywhere you want to go, yeah.
Anywhere you want to go for. Well, there are districts too that you can get out of in that time. So, for instance, if you go out to Markham, you go into another municipality's transportation system, and you pay another $3. But it's still, for a little bit more than that, you can get on the GO train and be there in 15 minutes, 20 minutes. That's like a nonstop commuter train within the GTA to all the municipalities outside. Actually, it goes all the way to Niagara Falls now.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Gambling, man. A lot of touristy. The weddings left Niagara Falls, but I think there's at least 3 casinos there now.
Haven't been there in many, many years.
Oh, that's still one of them. I love that little town. I used to go there and cause havoc. Havoc and chaos.
Come on, havoc and chaos is your middle name. Wherever you go.
Especially when I was younger, I was just trouble looking for somewhere.
Looking for a place to happen. Huh?
Yeah.
Guys, I got to run.
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Take care now.
Bye, everybody.
We managed to not talk about SEO again.
Pretty much.